introduced as a documentary, I didn't say it was a documentary made by people still in high school. But that was a documentary about shooting violence from the perspective, in a lot of ways, of this generation that's dealing with it. And I don't want to say anything beyond that, just talk, because it's, you know, I'm a grandparent. It makes me really mad that we have this problem and that it's your problem.
Yeah, I think it started off as a school project, kind of turned into a passion project, I'd say.
Yeah.
So it starts off with, I think, 6 months of research about a topic, and automatically our group knew we wanted to do something surrounding mass shootings and school shootings and stuff like that. So, you know, we were doing that. We were really struggling because we wanted, obviously, to just say, oh, it's the guns. We wanted to turn to, you know, it's a gun violence problem. We need to take away the guns. But as we kind of started establishing script, and it's realized, like, I mean, it's harder to convey that. So I think we almost were close to giving up. We're like, maybe we should just do something else, like pick another topic. And then the Thousand Oaks shooting happened, and our group, you know, Jonah and I, we were at school. We went to our film class, and we're like, we gotta go there. We have to go. We have to see what's going on. Interview anyone. So we went down to We went down to Thousand Oaks in the morning.
Because you're Calabasas High, right? Which is close. 10 minutes, 15 minutes away.
I mean, we went the day after the shooting happened, and it was a quick, you know, talk with our teachers about how important this footage would have been to us. And actually, we ended up losing that footage, which is was pretty tough on our side.
But the experience was...
Yeah. I mean, we had... by the way, I'm Jonah, and this is Miles. I directed, wrote, and edited the piece, and Miles produced it.
I was thinking at some break I would have you introduce yourself. Kind of drop that ball.
Yeah. But our other producer, Molly, who's a great filmmaker as well, we got back, and I think we were all kind of just shocked about the whole process, and she actually was crying and very upset about just, you know, how close we were, the people who were affected, and I think that was really the stepping stone of, like, all right, this has to be a project that we create. This has to be a project that, you know, we need to tell. And, you know, and I think one of the hardest parts about the film was figuring out, you know, because we can tell the facts, and we can tell the facts for 30 minutes, an hour. It could go on and on forever, but it was, what can you guys do, right? And it's like, if you know, with a lot of stories, it's like, what can we do to help? And I think that was really the hardest part about, you know, kind of finding that answer. And so, you know, hopefully we came across and kind of got that job done, but yeah.
Any questions? Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's more a comment than a question, because I mean, I didn't know that it was done by, you know, people of your age, and I wasn't watching it, and I didn't feel that like immaturity in the filmmaking or the writing or the editing, and I'm just very, very impressed.
Thank you.
And also that when I watch documentaries, it's like, okay, what did I learn? What did I learn? And when it started, I was like, I don't expect to learn something in 15 minutes, and I did. And so kudos.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to announce in advance that it's made by people still in high school.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, this topic applies so much more to just our generation of kids and stuff. And, you know, we sit in class every day and we see the news stories of, oh, there's a shooting here and there's a shooting here. And, you know, being a senior in high school, you like tend to turn your head back a little more. Or you think about what's happening. It's very shocking to kids our age and the next generation.
I think that one of the scariest things too is, it's like, you know, hearing the fire drill go off at school and stuff like that, and, you know, it's just like, who knows, like, is it safer to be in a class where your class could burn down, or could this be some big trick and there could be someone who, you know, is ready outside of your school and stuff like that. So, you know, it's been tough, I think, on the school, but well, I'm forgetting his name.
Marty Friel.
Yeah, Marty Friel, who is like our dean of safety for our school district. he actually does a really good job at, you know, making us feel very safe, you know, in our classrooms and stuff like that. And, you know, I think our school, like, especially last year when we were making this project, it was like, you know, lots of words of wisdom and how to feel safe, because, you know, the last thing you want is to feel unsafe at school. And again, I think, you know, there was a lot of footage that we found that really helped us as well. But, you know, all the interviews that we conducted were, I mean, I was just so grateful that people were really able to open up, because that was kind of our biggest, you know, worry, was that people wouldn't open up enough, and really get into the nitty-gritty about, you know, the topic. So we were really grateful for that.
Yeah, I think when writing the script, it was kind of hard because it's such almost a taboo, like, story. Like, no one really wanted to talk about, we have this huge epidemic and what are we going to do about it. And I think that kind of drove us to make this film.
Yeah.
Have you ever, if you did a longer cut, would you have even more interviews? Because I really enjoy the interviews with the people your age, hearing them voice their feelings and thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we made a longer version, we'd interview more high school students and how they feel and how they're impacted.
Do you want to talk about, like, the Joe Biden stuff?
Oh yeah, so we actually I've met some people because of the film that are very, like, you know, in the political world, and they're friends with Joe Biden. He's talking about, you know, taking on the NRA, so we actually got an interview with him to ask him questions and kind of talk about the film with him. So we're gonna try to make a longer cut.
You gonna cut Biden in?
Yeah.
Well, and also maybe potentially see, like, see his take on things, and potentially maybe even, you know, maybe make a separate film kind of about, you know, jumping off of this topic. And so, you know, I think with everything that's going on in the world today, you know, it's so important that we also elect a person that, you know, will potentially be more aware and maybe have some other solutions, not to get too much in that world and stuff. But I think the one thing that I learned, and my sister, who was one of the girls who was interviewed, said it really well. It's like, no one in this room knows, you know, what your friend or your, you know, family member might be going through in their head. So I think the biggest takeaway that at least you guys can take away is that, you know, always just be sure to reach out to the people that you know and you love, and just make sure, you know, it's a hey, hello, how's everything going, you know, every day, or, you know, just frequently checking in, because again, you don't know what is going on, you know, in the minds of people that you might be best friends with and stuff as well. So, you know, it's always just really good to check in and make sure, you know, everyone is comfortable and, you know, happy with themselves.
Yeah, as a whatever, someone in his 50s, I just hope that it's your generation, because Columbine was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So now 20-year-olds, like, their entire life, they've known of this sort of thing, that by the time you're my age, there won't be a generation left that wasn't affected by this, so that, like, the voting population will just not tolerate.
Yeah, I mean, another scary thing is it's been happening so much. I think when we went down to Thousand Oaks that day, the first thing we learned was some of the people that were involved in the Thousand Oaks shooting were also at Vegas. So you got to think about the people who weren't even, like, necessarily injured or killed at that bar are impacted for the rest of their lives, just going out on a normal day. So.
Yeah.
Is this the first film you guys made?
No, actually, I was gonna touch on that too. I've been making films since I was like 12, and I went through a great film program in my middle school, and so I've yeah, no.
There's the same middle school that Ella McKeon we showed. It's CAM, Cinema Arts Academy at Milliken Middle School, like a mile that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, I preach that school. I really do preach the teacher who was my mentor, who again just I learned so much from. But no, this is actually my third time being at this festival. So the past like 2 or 3 years I've had films here, all very different films and stuff. So, but again, I just, storytelling again is my way of getting out the messages that I like to tell, because, you know, you could go send this film to your friend, and that friend could send it to their mom, whose mom, you know, and it can go all over the place, where, you know, my voice is only so loud. And, you know, I hope that this film is able to get out there and really try to change some lives.
Well, congratulations, your film was very impactful.
Thank you so much.
And he's got his own film equipment, and you had your sister wearing the Jonah Mazer Productions shirt. So if you've got a wedding, bar mitzvah, whatever you need videography, I'm plugging him.
I did have a question though. I really like your poster. Can you talk a bit about the inspiration behind it?
Wow,
It's
thank
almost
you.
like cutouts of, like,
We chopped off the side.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'll show you. So, I really loved the look of this. Actually, we had a friend in our class who's like this great animator, so he actually made this backdrop for us. But I kind of love the idea of these people kind of holding hands across the, in a school hallway. And of course, the touches of red, were really big. I was super proud of creating this myself, yeah, it was just it was a day that we kind of just were playing around with some ideas and stuff, and thank goodness we have the tools at school to create stuff like this. But this film was created by like 5 people. There's 5 like students that I think we're just so grateful to have the community that we do have to be able to make stuff like this, and so grateful to have like my parents who are like super supportive about making films and let me keep creating, and that's huge.
And there was a question here.
I appreciate my takeaway is I appreciated the kind of the balanced nature of how you presented it, and that I think I heard you say you were going for the gun approach, and then you decided you weren't going to do it, and then the other happened, and you seemed to touch on something that I believe was not being spoken about, which was basically bullying, mental illness, and just being nice to each other, reaching out to each other and going, hey, how's it going? Let's hang out. Let's go to lunch, coffee, whatever. What's going on? And I think I think that right there is the key critical thing that's not being talked about. Yeah,
and don't be quiet either, because a lot of the more recent shootings that have been happening, the one of the biggest ones that would happen, less than a month ago.
Saugus.
Yeah, Saugus High School. The kid's bio in his Instagram was like, Saugus High School, don't come to school, or be something like that. And it's like, if you see that, why stay quiet? Because there are kids that are, and adults and everybody, these people that are just losing their lives because of a person who has these thoughts in their heads and stuff like that. And it's like, there's no time to be quiet at all. And again, that's why we made this film.
Yeah, another thing is, I think if you have any mental health issues at all, or any anxiety, depression, or anything like that, so go get help, because like we said in the film, 95% of people who are doing violent crimes like these mass shootings aren't clinically diagnosed being mentally ill. So that just shows that they're either normal, or they haven't got diagnosed, or they haven't talked to anyone. So I think that's another big issue.
And if you know someone who's isolated,
Yeah.
help them not be isolated.
Exactly.
Yeah. If your neighbor's got a weird kid, talk to him.
Smile and give some hugs. That'll change some lives for sure.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I was really impressed that you kind of were able to add, you mentioned the gun approach, and you were going to make it like it's the solution is no guns, and then that whole train. But even while she was speaking, they just brought up all of these other elements, like the media, the bullying, everything in it, which I think with such a frustrating topic. I remember in 2008, I was living in Chicago, and the NIU shootings happened, and a lot of my friends were there and all of that, and all of us just making it so black and white of like, well, it's this or it's this. And I thought this did such a good job of showing the nuance of the different solutions and the mental health and everything else. It's very commendable.
Yeah, I think that stemmed with, all 5 of us that worked on the film before production had to do 6 months of research on the topic. So we knew the ins and out of every different thing you could blame it on, and I think we kind of tied it all together. With touching on that, I think one of the cool things that the ASU professor said, and one of the interesting things, was that the media portrays mass shootings totally different now, because they used to, when Columbine and Sandy Hook happened, they would focus directly on the shooter, and that would spur other shooters to do stuff similar to that, and now they focus solely on the victims. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really like when that person spoke about the differences between Canada and like the United States video games, because the politicians nowadays love to blame video games or violent rap songs, and I'm a product of the 80s, and I grew up on Rambo and people like that. But I think and there was bullying back then. I think the only difference now is there was no social media back then. So when I left school, you had a break from the bullying, and now it's just like constant 24/7 across all forms. And so I just thought that was a really good, really nice comparison.
Yeah, I still think, I mean, you know, even with the research that we did that really states like it's not necessarily about the video games, I still think there are way too many video games out there that are just all about killing, and I feel like kids will also like kind of take that for granted, like, oh, you know, I could never do something like this, it's just a game, or things like that. And you know, I still personally like view that stuff as like we need to start cutting some of that stuff down. You know, although there are so many other, you know, reasons why these things are happening, but you know, again, I'm not a huge fan of you know, violence in you know, movies is a separate topic, but I think, you know, video games that I can be playing something and I can control what's happening, you know, I think that those numbers can be lowered if we can. That's why I'll be running for president.
You have to wait 17 years.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much. All right, well, we have a feature film in 15 minutes that you've never